This Tuesday night, the College Football Playoff Committee will release their third college football playoff ranking of the 2018 season. For those of you that are new here, what I do is when the games are complete on Saturday, I do my top 10 on this channel, kind of as a preview to the release of the College Football Playoff Committee ranking on Tuesday. This is just kind of a compare and contrast kind of thing. So as you can see on the board behind me, for those of you that watched last week or have watched in weeks past, there is not really many changes to my top 10, as what it's probably going to be for the committee as well. So let's quickly go through it. Number 1 is Alabama. Another shutout against a ranked team. Alabama stays number 1. At number 2, I still have Notre Dame, kind of based on what I've said for the last couple weeks. As far as win quality and your resume builder, I do quality over quantity. That's what outweighs it. Number 3 is Clemson. Honestly, I don't see why there needs to be an argument for which one should be 2 and 3, because if this thing stands, those two are going to play each other anyway, so I just don't think it matters. All that matters is who gets to pick the uniform they play in. So that's really all that it really matters for. Number 4 is Michigan. So my top 4 stays the same as last week. Moving on to 5 through 10, and most of this stays the same. Number 5, Georgia. Number 6, Oklahoma, who out of all the teams this week, they were the closest ones to lose. If Oklahoma State has an accurate pass on the 2-point conversion, Oklahoma possibly loses this game against the Cowboys today in the Battle of the Bedlam. Number 7, Washington State. Number 8, Ohio State, who is kind of back on track a little bit after the loss to Purdue. They struggled against Nebraska, but they dominated today convincingly versus Michigan State. Ohio State, number 8. Number 9, West Virginia, dominated TCU. And number 10, kind of making an appearance in this top 10, is LSU. Like, LSU is kind of that team. They're kind of like Penn State from last year. They had 2 losses earlier on in this process, and LSU in the top 10, they're just there. They don't really have a chance to make this 14 playoff unless the unthinkable happened, which I really doubt the unthinkable will happen. Because when you're thinking the unthinkable, you're asking Alabama to lose to Auburn and Georgia in the SEC championship game. You're asking for Oklahoma and West Virginia to kind of beat each other up throughout an 8-day process. And you're asking for Ohio State to lose to Michigan and then Michigan losing the Big Ten championship. You're just asking for Clemson to lose somewhere. You're kind of asking for a lot for LSU to get in there. So since there's really not many changes and really not much to talk about, I'm just going to go over like some possible resume building points, because let's just go over like potential chances to get resume points. I know we went over this last week, but really there's not much to talk about this week as far as scenarios are concerned, which things probably won't be like that next week either, because as we know that all the top teams have arguably easy games with the exception of Notre Dame, who plays Syracuse on a neutral site. So let's go over the top 10 and where are their chances to get more resume points as we wind down in this process. For Alabama, they can still earn resume points against Auburn, but the question is, Auburn plays Liberty next week. Is there a possibility that Auburn could still be in that top 25? I know they lost to Georgia today. They got blown out by Georgia, but will Auburn still be in that top 25 when the Iron Bowl hits? Because that bottom portion of the top 25, it changes a lot more often than what it does at the top. So that's going to be a huge question mark. Will Auburn be ranked when the Iron Bowl hits? Even if it's just 24 or 25, that still counts as a ranked opponent. And they will have a resume builder against Georgia in the SEC championship. For Clemson, now again, I'm just basing these off of what the committee's top 10 is for right now. So not mine. So what Clemson has left is just the ACC championship game. Their last real test of the season was tonight against Boston College. They won it handily. Clemson, for the third week in a row now, where some people have hope that maybe it's going to be a little bit tough for them, but they win games like at least 3 out of the last 4 weeks. They've kind of have a tough game, whether it's a rivalry game or whether it's another ranked opponent or a road test in the cold. They have won those games convincingly. So the ACC Championship game, that's their last hope of building resume points. And you can get resume points based off of winning your conference championship. In fact, why don't we make up a formula of how you can build resume points? That's going to be something fun to do. I'll probably do that on Tuesday just for the fun of it, because I figure we're not going to really have much to talk about, because the rankings should stay about the same as they were this past week, with maybe 1 or 2 changes toward like maybe the bottom part of the top 10. Who knows? Notre Dame, their last chance for resume points is number 13 Syracuse next week on a neutral site. For Michigan, their last hope for resume points are Ohio State and the Big Ten Championship game if they get there. Number 5 for Georgia, it's just Alabama, the SEC Championship game, your last hope for resume points. Oklahoma, they still can get resume points against number 9 West Virginia and the Big 12 Championship game. LSU at number 7, they are finished with getting resume point opportunities. Unless Texas A&M finds themselves in the top 25 by the time the final weekend hits, they could probably have a shot for maybe 1 or 2 resume points, but that would be about it. Because the resume points that I would have in my own personal formula, it would not even be enough for LSU to even get in the top 4 or even have a chance. So in my opinion, LSU was pretty much done with earning resume points or having opportunities to. Number 8, Washington State against Washington in the Apple Cup and the Pac-12 Championship game. For West Virginia, like we established, Oklahoma and the Big 12 Championship game. Number 10, like we established, Michigan and the Big 10 Championship game. So those are just how the top 10 can earn more resume points. This is kind of going to be a short one, not as long as the ones in weeks past, because there's really not much to talk about. We just kind of went over what my top 10 was, kind of went over some changes if there was any, and we just covered resume point opportunities. On Tuesday, since we're not going to really have much to discuss because the rankings should stay about the same, we'll make our own personal formula of how to build up resume points. And I think it's going to be an exciting one. It's going to be a lot of math, though, just to kind of get you guys prepared for it. If you want to follow along, you can definitely do that. All you need is a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen. Who cares? Maybe even a calculator, though. But I will see you then. Have a wonderful night. And I know this is kind of in the dark. I just really thought it'd be easier to see my top 10 as the light in here. It's just really not, I don't know. I feel like I got to adjust it somehow. So I hope you guys don't mind. I will see you next time.